I'm not much of a speaker. Hey, how about this off season, huh? Yeah. I didn't expect it to go down like this. But I figured when it did eventually happen, Deshaun Watson or maybe even Jalen Hurts could fill your size 13 Berluti wingtips. But I guess not. You traded your Gucci handbag for a saddlebag. You traded your Fendi dress shoes for cowboy boots. Hey, Russ, nobody's going to see that stunning head of hair underneath that 15-gallon cowboy hat. Why'd you do it, huh? What does John Elway have that John Schneider didn't? A chiseled jawline? A Super Bowl ring? Less vowels in his name? Come clean, you son of a... But here we are, standing in this cartoon graveyard with this Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Award looking picture of you hung poorly on a grave. And you aren't even dead. And hey, Russ, I saw that you landed in Denver on social media, so I thought it would be cool to give you a couple facts about the new city that you live in. Denver is one of the sunniest cities in the U.S. with 300 annual days with sunshine every year. That's great. There are more marijuana dispensaries in Colorado than there are Starbucks. There's lots of drugs there, Russ. In Denver, it's unlawful to lend your vacuum cleaner to your neighbor. So good luck if you decide you want to do a good deed, which we all know you do. Hey, Russ, do you know why they call Denver the Mile High City? Have you heard? You see, when you're on an airplane and you're with your wife, we can't talk about this. But before I go, Russ, I wanted to read you a poem that I recently put together for this moment. I'm very nervous. Hickory dickory dock. Russell Wilson is off the block. He landed in Denver. John Elway planned this forever. And now we're f***ing stuck with Drew Lock. God damn. So thanks for all the memories, Russ. That includes the Super Bowl against the team that you just joined. Because this isn't goodbye. It's just see you later. Oh, God. And do me a solid. Tell Ciara I said hello. What's up, guys? I'm Nate List, a fantasy analyst / podcaster and the creator of DynastyRankings.com, a website where all my future Dynasty rankings will be located. Feel free to navigate there and enter your email to get all the updates about the website as we bring it online in the near future. Additionally, I talk about this often. If you guys are not a part of the Discord chat, please jump in there. We've got over 450 members. We're pushing towards 500. We have trade channels, rumor channels, public Discord channels, whatever you want. It's going on in there. It's highly active. Go into the details in the description below. Click the link, make your way in there, and come join the party. It's totally free. And guys, listen. Hit the subscribe button. I have great content dropping weekly on top of shorts, which as you guys have seen, I am dropping almost daily at this point. Don't miss a thing that I do with my fantasy content, with my dynasty content, as we ramp up more and more and more rookie content, which I'm going to start delivering to you directly on this channel. So hit the subscribe button right now and come join the collective of people that are enjoying the content that I'm already putting out there. Now, earlier yesterday, my phone just randomly started blowing up. All of my social media accounts were on fire. My text messages were on fire. My phone was ringing off the hook. but I had no idea what had happened. I didn't. I honestly had no idea. I'm in the mecca, the epicenter of Seattle football in a sense. I'm a huge Seahawks fan. Everybody knows that I'm a massive Russell Wilson fan. And this snuck up on me like a bomb. I had no idea that this actually happened. But when I finally looked down at my phone, which was basically on fire, it was like a red ember. I looked down at it and I read the first text message right on the top. And it said, Russ to the Broncos. And I thought, there's no fucking way that's true. There's no way Russ went to the Broncos. Because Russell Wilson always swore he was going to be with Seattle for life. I mean, quote after quote, indication after indication, interview after interview. Russell was extinguishing subject of an exit every time. There was no storyline out there that Russ hadn't beaten down and said, it's not true, I'm staying in Seattle. But I guess this was just Russell Wilson priming himself for a run at the professional poker tour. Because he got all of us. Everybody, hook, line, and sinker. He caught us all. And if you think anybody knew this was coming or it was in the works, and I've heard rumors that people said it was in the works for over 2 weeks, Ian Rappaport was on Pat McAfee's show less than a week ago, and this is what was said. I would say I don't think so regarding Wilson on the move, but I would not rule it out. The Seahawks are not shopping and they have no intention of dealing him. I think he'd like to be there. Wrong. Absolutely wrong. Oh my goodness. An absolute bomb was dropped on the fans of Seattle and Dynasty players alike. But Pete Carroll and John Schneider did this to themselves. And Russell Wilson was a casualty of bad draft picks, poor decision-making, and a realization of the organization that it wasted a decade of his career. He brought Seattle 1 Super Bowl title and damn near 2 in a row, but the same guys who just dealt him to Denver called a pass to a core special teamer. But as much as I want to blame Pete and John for Russ leaving, I can't. Even after all the wasted time, the draft whiffs, the defensive linemen they tried to convert to offensive linemen, and most recently the Jamal Adams deal that looks like an absolute dumpster fire today, I still can't. Because there are 3 huge factors at play in this situation. 1, believe it or not, Russell Wilson's future goal was to reset the quarterback market in terms of contracts and was likely searching in the realm of $50 million per year. Seattle was never going to be able to re-sign him. 2, Seattle wouldn't be competing in 2022 anyways. We've looked at this roster. No matter how hard they tried, with 0 draft capital, there was no chance. 3, and I tend to agree with this other big reason. From Hustle Chilson, Russell wouldn't have been traded if he wanted to be in Seattle. Important to remember that. That's true. That's an absolute fact about Russell Wilson. And unfortunately, Seattle couldn't afford him. Seattle knew they weren't going to compete. And he didn't want to be here anymore, and it became more and more and more evident. And as we look back after all these years, where there was smoke, there was actually fire. But Russell Wilson continued to dispel the rumors time and time again, stating, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to play out the rest of my career. But I had written in an article not too long ago that it felt more like an 80-20 situation. I thought 80% chance he stays, 20% chance he goes, which was much more heavily leaning towards the leaving scenario, which I never used to be in that mindset. So though I'm surprised like many of you, and though I'm saddened as a Seahawks fan, in the back of my mind, I always knew he deserved better. Right? We always knew he deserved better. Seattle ruined a majority of his career, and now he goes to Denver. Who knows what the outcome will be, but at least he's not in Seattle having his ceiling absolutely capped season after season after season after season. But I want to be very clear about one thing. In my opinion, this was the biggest trade in NFL history. Randy Moss to the Pats for a 4th? Eat a Eric Dickerson to the Colts? Stop it. The great Herschel Walker deal? Please. Matt Stafford to the Rams? I mean, it was amazing because it worked out for a Super Bowl, but I still say it's number 2, and I won't budge on this. Listen, Russell Wilson is 33 years old, a 9-time Pro Bowler, a Super Bowl champion, number 4 all-time in passer rating, number 9 all-time in TD rate, which I heard was unsustainable. And all of this while playing with one of the league's most consistently awful offensive lines and also being throttled year after year after year after year in pass attempts. But this doesn't even count his year-to-year advanced metrics with the list above. And I can use 2021 as an example despite the missed time and the less than true form that we saw from him post-injury. But I'd rather talk about 2020 when he again nuked the NFL. Let's take a look at Russell Wilson's stats back in 2020 when Russell Wilson finished as the QB6 overall. He's finished as a top 10 quarterback 3 of the last 5 years. He was number 7 in pass attempts that year, number 5 in money throws, number 6 in air yards, number 4 in accuracy rating, number 1 in play action completion percentage, number 7 in red zone completion percentage, number 5 in clean pocket completion percentage. He was alive. His receivers were getting target separation. I mean, Russell Wilson was an absolute god in 2020. And he can likely replicate this type of production in Denver because he's now inheriting a lot of very good weapons. Are they Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf? No, they're not. It's hard to rebuild the chemistry that you had with Tyler Lockett instantaneously in Denver, but Cortland Sutton is a very good outside wide receiver. But let's talk about the trade for a minute, which, by the way, wasn't nearly enough capital, but I understand why Seattle did it. Let's look at the specifics of this trade. Denver, in exchange for Russell Wilson, is sending a 2022 first-round pick, which is number 9 in the draft, its own 2022 second-round pick, which is number 40 overall. Then it's sending its first and second-round picks in 2023. It's giving up a 5th-round pick in 2022. Seattle's kicking them back a 4th-round pick in 2022 as well. Seattle's also receiving defensive lineman Noah Fant, Drew Lock. I mean, these are just, we appreciate Noah Fant, but Drew Lock, for God's sakes, nobody wanted Drew Lock. What an absolute throw-in. And I question why Seattle couldn't go after getting another 2nd-round pick from this Denver roster. The fact that they got us to throw a 4th back in is like some classic Dynasty fantasy football. Whenever I make a trade in Dynasty fantasy football, I almost always ask the other owner to throw a draft pick in there. Hey, will you throw a 2nd in? Hey, will you throw a 3rd in? How the did they get us to throw a 4th back in? What an atrocious trade. Now, I'll say this about the trade. There's no immediate answer for Russell Wilson. We don't know who's going to be the quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks going forward. And this is a question that makes me slightly nervous about Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf in 2022, but we'll get to that. Because at pick number 9, if it isn't Malik Willis out of Liberty, who's the quarterback that everybody's in love with right now, and it may require a trade up potentially from 9 to get there, but they have the capital to probably move up now. If the pick isn't Malik Willis at 9, and knowing Seattle, they're probably going to trade the pick back, then I don't have an answer for what they're going to do. They could be punting 2022. They're going to ride Drew Lock, sign a cheap free agent quarterback like Teddy Bridgewater, and try to limp their way to 2023, where it's supposed to be a better draft class overall. Now, something that came up when my phone was blowing up, half the reason it blew up was because of this tweet right here. I said with a quote last year on 2/8/21 after Jason said, I'm hearing Russell Wilson's camp has grown increasingly frustrated by the Seahawks' inability to protect the 8-time Pro Bowler. He has been sacked 394 times in 9 seasons. The situation warrants serious monitoring. I said, I'll turn myself into one of the unsullied if this happens. Now, for those of you that don't watch Game of Thrones, this is an army of male soldiers that have all been castrated. Okay, so there's that. So that's out there now. And a bunch of people were tweeting this and retweeting this and curious if it was going to happen. But all I can say is I'll have to ask my wife, and she's probably going to say no. So it likely doesn't go through. But on the situation in Seattle, the issue with any other quarterback stepping in place of Russell Wilson, here's a couple facts that I know. One, they won't be as efficient as Russell Wilson because Russell Wilson is one of the most efficient passers of all time. Two, they likely won't have the deep ball accuracy of Russell Wilson because he's one of the best deep ball passers of all time. The combination of arm strength and accuracy combined is very rare. Three, the next quarterback that comes in is probably going to get hit with the run-first offense and get even less opportunity to throw than Russell Wilson did. So for DK Metcalf, a guy that was thriving on air yards, those are gone. Tyler Lockett and DK both seeing over 100 targets annually. Those are probably going to come down quite a bit too as this offense leans more run-heavy and tries to play defense. Now, the one thing that we don't know as this team has released Bobby Wagner, traded Russell Wilson, they may see a lot of negative game script, and whoever the next quarterback is may have to throw more. That's the one advantage that remains, not knowing who the quarterback is. But if it's Drew Lock, wildly inaccurate. I don't know who the next option would be, even if it's Malik Willis. He was a quarterback that had the arm strength, has the arm talent, but is also wildly inaccurate and makes bad decisions in his own right and has zero chemistry with these two wide receivers. So again, their production may be throttled in 2022. With DK Metcalf's free agency coming up relatively soon, he may be a guy, the way that we treated Chase Claypool last year, that you need to go after earlier in the year when he drops in people's dynasty rankings because they're losing faith and they don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. Then potentially suddenly in 2023, when the answer comes to town, whether it's Malik Willis this year and he gets better next year, or there's a better veteran quarterback in 2023, or they tap into that draft class and we see DK Metcalf explode in 2023, that's when you reap the benefits. That's my overall concern with the situation. I didn't like the trade. I didn't think it was enough value. But the reality is Seattle knew they couldn't retain him. Seattle knew they couldn't afford him. And this very well may have been just about as good as it was going to get in terms of pieces and draft capital for Russell Wilson, but I'm still upset.